Hi, it's Matt Potratz back with you again. I took a couple weeks off here because I was moving into my new home and my stuff was a bit scattered, but it's all coming together now. Had to go a few days without internet, so I had to make a few runs to the community center for web access. It's funny how we view internet as nearly as crucial as electricity anymore nowadays, but many of us can barely function without it. This week I pondered on the reality that many people view humility as weakness. I think I maybe even associated it as a weaker trait at one point, when in fact it's the opposite. It's strength. The reason it's viewed as a weakness is because humility is widely misunderstood. Here's a key thing to remember. Humility isn't insecurity. Insecurity is insecurity. And humility is just that, being humble. John Maxwell once said that true humility doesn't require thinking less of yourself. It just means you think of yourself less. Thinking less of yourself is ultimately the definition of insecurity. Thinking too highly of yourself is pride. And pride, too, is really actually rooted in insecurity, in the need for false reassurance. So thinking too little of and too much of yourself are actually intertwined with the same root problem. Finding a good balance in the middle doesn't make you humble, but it puts you in a great position to discover true humility. If you think of yourself less, as Maxwell describes, you'll think of others more. You'll ultimately need less from and can give more to the world around you. However, you cannot love anyone else well until you first love yourself. I'm discovering that learning to truly love myself isn't an event, it's a journey. A journey that likely goes on for a lifetime. I've always feared loving myself because I don't want to ever become arrogant or prideful. But the key is to keep your motivation for loving yourself in line. Do you love the person you are in order to give you the strength you need to get the microscope off of self and be able to invest in others? Or do you love you to give yourself the security to know that you're better than your peers or those in your circle? If the latter is your answer, there's no security in that at all. That's a prime case of the opposite, insecurity. The world is full of hotshots who are even bosses, managers, coaches, pastors, teachers, and many other positions, and they look as if they haven't made, ordering everyone else around. But in reality, many are a massive case of insecurity. If they were to be honest, they'd tell you they're proud of themselves. But they're not proud at all. They're prideful, and in many cases, they hate themselves for it. Many eventually hit rock bottom, but even rock bottom doesn't make you humble. It's humiliation, but not humility. Humiliation comes from a point of weakness. Humility often requires you to admit your weaknesses, but it doesn't allow you to be weak. It instead requires strength. Sometimes mental strength, other times physical, or sometimes both, but regardless of which it is, you've got to pick yourself back up and rebuild in order to be at a place of actual humility. Being at the bottom doesn't make you a humble person. True humility is developed when either A, you're at the top of your game and all is in your favor, yet you don't need credit or praise for it, and you don't need anyone to notice. Or B, you're in a tough spot and all your ducks aren't staying in a row, but yet you don't need empathy or sorrow, and you don't need anyone to notice. And regardless of which it is, you can use your current position to give more than you take, and as Maxwell says, think of yourself less. I do some volunteer work in my community and help with some local charities, and I'm always inspired when I see often those who give the most are those with the least amount of available resources. And they do it with a genuine smile. But I'm also saddened by the flip side of this reality, when I see those with plenty of resources who choose not to give. And I hate to see them miss out on the fulfillment and inner peace brought on by giving up something of value for the benefit of others. This week, I hope you'll take the time to ask yourself where you're really at. Have you ever taken the time to evaluate yourself on the subject of humility? Are you running a race of snuffing out other flames to make yours burn hotter and brighter? Are you insecure? Do you fear humility as if it's weakness? How much of an effort are you willing to make to discover the true strength in a lifestyle of humility? These are questions about ourselves that only you and I can answer. I hope you'll take the time to do so.